What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. This is a very special episode of IGN Game Scoop. It's episode 400. Joining me for this milestone is Justin Davis, Andrew Goldfarb, back after way too long, and Brian Altano is here. I brought along our friend Corbell as well. So we're gonna pop some bubbly up in here. Club going up on a Wednesday afternoon.
I'm very nervous about where this cork is going.
You don't need to be.
I'm worried about where this Wednesday afternoon's going.
I think we all know
good places
where this is going. We're gonna reminisce a little bit about everything that's the big changes that have happened to video games over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, this summer is when Game Scoop started.
10 years of Game Scoop.
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy.
So long.
And then we're going to look forward a little bit to the next couple weeks to Gamescom. Andrew and Brian and I are all going to Gamescom, so we're going to give you a little preview of what to expect from that.
So
the next 400 episodes.
Yeah, we're going to preview the next. We have clips. We have a clip reel lined up to show you what's coming up over the next 400. Check that out.
Episode 800.
Game Scoop 800.
Here we go.
Wow.
I'm going to shoot it towards the camera.
I don't think any show should turn 800.
Yeah, towards the expense. Oh my god.
Man, that could have gone so bad in so many different
No, it's a special effect, Brian.
Yeah, it wasn't real.
We've been training with our stunt coordinators all afternoon.
We added that in post.
Yeah.
Man, that really could have that could have set off a chain reaction.
Is that a bad idea? Should I not have done that?
No, it's done. It doesn't matter.
Fine.
Let me take you guys back to the summer.
Won't hurt him.
Let me take you guys back to the summer of 2006.
The hit song by,
Whoops.
I don't know, TLC probably?
2006? I don't know, man. I don't think TLC had a hit song in
I don't know
2006.
what the hit song of that year was. Oh, cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
A bit of the bubs, as they say. The buble.
Cheers.
Cheers, fellas.
I'm gonna go under.
10 years of Game
Happy
Scoop.
birthday, Game Scoop, you old man.
Yeah.
Very old.
You 10-year-old? It's fine.
Okay. The summer was 2006. IGN was covering the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, the GameCube, and the Xbox 360. It had been out for probably about 7 months at that point. The Wii had just been announced, previously known as the Nintendo Revolution. Now
You're still
confirmed as
laughing at the
Wii.
title.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it and the PS3 would be out in 6 months.
Was that when they showed the box but not the controller?
No, that was the Wii U.
Oh, yes. That sounds right. Oh, so weird.
Oh, yeah. What a weird box
Yeah.
that was.
Yep.
In the news, in the summer of 2006, Half-Life 2 Episode 1 was released. And this is actually from an article on IGN that summer. In a recent interview with Eurogamer, Valve revealed that the just-released Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and the forthcoming Episodes 2 and 3 will serve as the third game in the series. Rather than make gamers wait another 6+ years for Half-Life 3, the developer thought people might appreciate playing the game in smaller chunks if they didn't have to wait as long. Cut to 10 years later. We were getting new screens from Zelda Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That everyone was very excited about. We got new screens of Battlefield 2142. And now we got new screens of Battlefield 1.
Yeah, it's kind of it's cool that all these franchises are still around.
Yeah.
It's something.
There was a
Half-Life.
new map pack release for Perfect Dark Zero.
Yeah.
That game got a map pack?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
We just published the first HD video of Heavy Rain.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sawing the finger off, I hope.
Spoilers, man. What the hell?
Here's a headline. Here's a headline from June 13th, 2006. Duke Nukem Forever coming this year.
That's really good.
We put up screens of Super Monkey Ball on Wii.
Oh.
Oh,
That was-
one of Justin and I's
Yeah.
favorite games of all time.
Well, yeah, except for the Wii one is where things started to go sideways.
Oh, that's true.
You don't want a jump button in Monkey Ball. Get it out
Yeah,
of there.
that doesn't sound good at all.
No.
Blizzard was banning gold farmers in WoW.
Gold Farbers?
Gold farbers. Yeah.
Gold farmers. No more
My
gold
people.
farmers.
That was when my family business shifted.
We reviewed Mega Man Battle Network 6 on the Game Boy Advance.
Wow.
They made at least 6 of those games.
Wow.
Goodness gracious.
And in the summer of 2006, Prey was released. The first Prey.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
just at E3, we got the first trailer for Prey 2, 10 years later.
Yep.
Prey 1 was a very, very different game than what it looks like Prey 2 is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what Prey 2 was.
So summer of 2006 wasn't so great, but later that year, I think
I mean, we got 2 consoles that year.
we got 2 consoles, and I think we got Oblivion on the Xbox and PC.
I think it was an early 2006
Was that
release, like
was it?
January maybe.
That's when
Early in the
it's
year, yeah.
weird to me that there's consoles, like a lot of consoles do this, like the Genesis was around for over a year before Sonic the Hedgehog came out. and like the Xbox 360 was around for a while, like without Gears of War and some of its defining games. Yeah, it's weird to go back and look at launch lineups, and you're like, oh, that's
Yeah, because it was like Call of Duty 2. and
Call of Duty 2 launched, and there wasn't Halo or Gears
Yeah.
or like any of the stuff like open world games will go on to define the gen with stuff like Assassin's Creed, and we hadn't seen any of that yet.
Yeah. Now it's hard to find IGN traffic numbers for stuff going way back.
Wow.
But as far as long as we've been had tools readily accessible to us to keep track of these things, what do you think is the highest trafficked news story on IGN?
Of
06?
that year.
No, of like in our history.
Oh, in the 10 years.
in the 10 years, in say the past 5 years is like as long as we've really had tools readily available to us to track.
Probably
that
a
stuff.
console announcement.
Are you news specifically or just
News, not
And
like
it
a
is
feature.
video game news. It's not like Marvel.
Video game news, not a feature.
It was a huge deal when PSN was down. And this
Yeah.
is a little bit inside baseball, but we ranked really high on Google searches for stuff like PSN down. So that kept getting traffic forever.
Yeah, I bet it's not like the PS4 announced article. It's probably.
It's something that would have a really, really long, like something that would get 5,000 views a day for life instead of
Yeah.
something that
Is
spikes
it
and
Nintendo
falls.
2DS announced?
That's actually number 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I knew that did really well. Because people were like, "Is this a joke?"
Yeah.
We didn't believe you.
Did you
when
publish a typo?
I remember
we made Jose and
you came
Brian
back to
draw it
Nintendo.
in
Yeah.
separate rooms.
You guys,
No one believed us.
you guys got pre-briefed, or you got that news a little bit before the rest of us. And when you were texting us, we couldn't tell if it was real or not.
Well, because I didn't think it was real either. So we didn't get pre-briefed. Jose Otero and I, who works here at IGN, we sat down in a room in Redwood City here, where Nintendo has offices, and Reggie Fils-Aimé walked in by himself and sat down, and he was just like, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to," and we're like, "No one's here but us." He did an E3 press conference for 2 people, and he was like, "And that's why we're proud to announce the Nintendo 2DS," and he pulled it out, and I was just like, "That's not fucking."
Where's the
real.
camera in the wall? Where's what's
All
about
right.
to happen? Some man's about to leap out from behind a bush and
All right,
say,
so that was number 4.
Yeah, number 1 was GTA 5 online heists finally revealed.
wow. The biggest news story of the last 5 years?
Yeah.
So just millions of page views?
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder who wrote it. It's probably Mitch.
Well, in GTA 5 is our number 1 review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I
Easily.
knew.
Then number 2, Xbox One will not require internet or restrict use games.
That was
when
a
was
huge
insane.
deal that
flip flopped.
Yeah. That was, I believe, Patrick at Giant Bomb broke that. And then we started writing it, and then Microsoft just opened the floodgates. And I remember Keza and Mitch made this incredible video where they had a pile of paper and they were reading all the rules and just throwing them out as they went.
Number 3, PlayStation 4 revealed.
Yep. Wow.
And then Nintendo announces 2DS.
I think both of those were me. Just saying.
Well, you are the news editor.
Kind of a big deal.
You were here for the 2DS thing? Was that before
Yep.
you left? Or
That was
after?
before I left,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
You pulled a Steve Butts, as we call it.
And to Scott Lowe.
And to Scott Lowe.
And Matt Wong.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
Jason Getchell.
No, I like to think
Well.
they pulled an Andrew Goldfarb.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. They were gold farming and WoW for a little bit.
Yep. Here, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about the 10 years that I've been hosting the show and covering video games. I was thinking about what are the big news stories that stuck out to me, the big changes, the big trends, and I made a little list here.
Oh.
We can go through them.
we
First
can-
of all, I think Xbox Live was a huge game changer. Before there was Xbox Live, they had Xbox Live on the original Xbox, but it really didn't flourish until it was Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before then, I would turn on a console and it was just, that was it.
Yeah.
Only, it was just me in my room and there was nothing else happening. And now I turn on a console and I can see all my friends, I
Yeah.
can see what they're playing. There's a store I can visit, there's advertisements popping up in my face.
Yeah.
So for better or for worse, that was a huge game changer.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, having the internet baked into the operating system on a deep fundamental level, like today, it's like, no duh sort of thing. But back in 2005, it wasn't like that at all. Like, every blade was enriched with, friend data and other online data. Every game had to have a demo, which
Yep.
I actually walked back like you don't have to anymore. But when I got my Xbox 360, I was just saying there were no games for it for like a year, and I would download demos of stuff like table tennis or that wasn't a year.
Dude, the Fight Night and the Burnout demos.
Fight Night demo,
Like
yeah.
I played those I played those for longer than I've played some retail games.
Yeah.
Like just that one loop in Burnout where you just had to keep crashing into cars and seeing
Yeah.
how many you could crash.
And seeing how
passed the
pretty
controller
Fight
and
Night was.
Right? Yeah.
Oh,
it was awesome.
Yeah.
But like a really cool thing about Xbox Live Arcade specifically was that it opened up doors for a lot of games that I don't think you would ever seen on retail shelves. And you got very in like on the ground floor of Xbox Summer of Arcade. You were playing a lot of those games. We were talking about them a lot here at IGN. We were big champions of that idea of making a game that I believe had to be under 512 megabytes.
It was way
at the
less
time.
than that.
Was it less than that?
it was like 50
originally
megs
it was
and,
like, yeah, 50 megs. Or
Oh, the 512 was when they raised the cap.
Yeah.
Because
They
it
raised
had
the
to
cap.
work on the arcade, which was only had 256 megs, I think.
didn't
was
come
the
with
idea.
the.
And that's like
They had
that's
to raise it for like Shadow Complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
was one of the
Yep.
games that
Yeah,
raised
and
it.
then
I mean,
they-
if you look at that, that's actually kind of the closest we've come to sort of being in the NES era again.
Yeah.
Where
Yep.
publishers are making and developers are making very weird games, and they are limited by the size constraints, which isn't really a thing anymore. Like I downloaded Ape Escape HD today, and it was 2 gigs. Because they're just like, who cares, right? But back then, you had to make like people were like, I want to make a 3D platforming game. I want to make a Monkey Ball style game. I want to make a 2D platforming game. It's got to fit in this little box, and it's games that you never would have seen on the shelves because it costs money to put to retail packaging
Yeah.
and all that. So it was really cool. It was a really cool
Yeah.
time.
Well, and it's great to see. Like the PC is a great space for those sort of games, but to give them a life on consoles, not even a life, but a very, very successful, tremendous source of revenue,
Yep.
just made. It's Xbox Live, and later PSN and eShop that made sort of people can leave their big jobs at big publishers and work with one or two other dudes and make the game that they want to make. It's great.
Something like Super Meat Boy, right?
Yeah. Or I mean,
yeah.
like Braid redefined
Yep.
Jonathan Blow's career.
Yep. It's certainly a seismic shift in the gaming landscape. Before before the internet was baked into your consoles, there weren't indie games on consoles.
No.
There weren't indie games on the Nintendo 64.
You would pay
or the GameCube.
$30 for an alien hominid on
That was
disc.
like the closest you could get to an
Yeah.
indie game
Yep,
on
right.
your console.
Katamari was.
And well, the
20
reason
bucks.
for that
Yeah.
was the proprietary discs and cartridges that people used,
they're
and
expensive.
it was just the hurdle to make a game. Nintendo back in the day would sell cartridges for $50, and they would sell that blank cartridge to publishers for like $38, which means that they had to split that $15 profit with 15 different places.
Yeah, and it's distribution too. Like it was
Yep.
all the retail chain stuff, and it was like making sure there was packaging and it had to fit standards. Whereas now it's literally like you finish your game, it's up on Steam or iOS 15 minutes after you finish it.
You don't even have to finish your game anymore. You just put it on
Yeah,
Steam.
in early access. Yeah.
People will figure it out.
Yeah.
So you,
finish it for you.
Now, Damon, you're just a professional handsome man here at IGN, a permanent host.
Well, man, let's say that. Professional man.
Sure. Well, I mean, that was maybe me editorializing a little bit. But that was your title for a while, right? You were the downloadable
I was the
content.
downloadable games editor
Yeah.
for a good
Wow.
time, and that was a really good gig because
Yeah.
it was like right when you said, Xbox Live Arcade was exploding.
Yeah.
and I got to cover all the cool like PlayStation Network games and WiiWare.
If you had kept
Yeah,
that
you
job, you'd be
reviewed.
screwed because that's literally every game.
I know that's
It's
why.
like Skyrim.
I mean, that's why we had to sort of get rid of that position.
Yeah.
Like, it was a novelty at first, and now every game is downloadable.
Well,
So,
once,
yeah.
and I don't remember
All
what
right, downloadable games editor. Time to review Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain.
Yeah, I'd like to go back in time and track down. I don't remember the game, but I remember it being a big deal when a big $60 game, like, hey, buy it on disc or buy it digitally, and there was no. It was the same. It was just the same thing, and it
I
didn't
think
make
it was
a difference. what we
Skyrim
did
because I
anymore.
remember Game of the Year 2011. We had this like massive argument over whether or not best downloadable game would still be a category.
We eventually
and it was
did
like
away with
such a big deal, and we killed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But removing the barrier to entry for indie developers made it so many more people could make games, right? So now you have this explosion of small development teams. More and more people making games than ever. And it also sort of did away with the mid-tier game
Yeah.
level. So now there's like AAA games and indie games.
Yeah.
And that's the majority of what we have now.
You're seeing, Ubisoft do, some 2D Assassin's Creeds that are sort of mid. Like
Yeah.
you see the big tier publishers do some smaller projects, and you see smaller indies sometimes punch above their weight and make $30 games. But for the most part, they're very
And
separate.
today I
it's
would think of
weird, too.
a mid-tier game as like like an Atlas JRPG that they
Yeah.
publish.
Or like
Yeah,
Homefront.
Mercenaries.
And that's the
Yeah.
thing, like that's what I was gonna say. It's weird because it's almost like there's indie and then there's like AAA and AAA plus, in that you have like your Activisions and your EAs that are like gigantic, but then you still kind of have, in place of like THQ, you've like Deep Silver,
Yeah.
who like is a AAA publisher, but they only put out like 3 games a year.
Well, and is Saints Row
Well, see, I
AAA the
don't-
way that like GTA is
and
AAA?
is
Like-
Homefront.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point too.
Yeah, they're probably a mid-tier developer. No shame in that.
No.
I think we've also witnessed the migration of the shovelware market away from consoles to mobile.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's
Totally.
just like no more shovelware on consoles anymore.
Except that Ghostbusters game. It's like
Well,
the
okay.
only one. But like,
Yeah.
that's why that was such a big deal
Activision,
recently,
like-
because like that Activision Ghostbusters game is such an anachronism.
Yeah.
Like it was a game
Yeah.
that was rushed to market to come out with a movie, and like that doesn't happen anymore.
Shovelware still exists. You'll never see it on shelves anymore for consoles or for handhelds even. But if you dig around the stores on all these places, you'll still find it. Those old ghosts are still there. I was on the 3DS store the other day, and they have like this. You'll check in. 3DS is like one of the best-selling systems of all time. It's got like, this incredibly robust library. You start digging around in the store, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of trash here.
Yeah.
And one of the newest ones was this like it was just like Horse Kid, and you're like, what's this? Like just utter nonsense games, and they're like, I think they're iPhone ports or Android ports or something like that.
Remember the shovelware for the Wii and the DS?
Oh my! It was you couldn't. I
the
didn't
Carnival
understand.
games,
the PS2
like,
the
all those-
Imagine
like that
Babies
too.
series.
Yeah.
The,
It dominated
Pet
shelves.
series,
You would
yeah.
go to like a Best Buy to the Wii section,
Yeah.
and you'd be looking for every Zelda or Mario. There were 400 like Circus Family.
Yep.
And you're
Yeah.
like, what's this?
I remember around the Olympics,
Zorda.
like you would have like your like major Olympic sponsored titles, but then you had like these like weird like B tier Olympics games that would
Yeah.
all come out at once, where it was like Olympic whatever, like
Yeah.
shuffleboard, and it was just like some awful.
But you know they're all. It was Midway, I believe. There was this like. There was this circus mini game collection that came out on Wii that cracked the top 10 MPD like 3
Wasn't that
months in a
Carnival
row.
Games?
I think,
that was
I
Carnival
think
Games,
Carnival
yeah.
Games sold millions of copies.
I want to say
And
that was 2K though.
Yeah, was it 2K? And yeah, no one really figured out how or why, but everyone kept trying to replicate the success of that. And We Play and We Sports. So they were just taking it was a dumping ground for terrible mini
We
game
used,
collections.
we used to go to industry events like a Ubisoft event, and we're here to like preview their games, and we'd have to sit down to a Nintendo DS, and they'd be like, "Here's a quit smoking." application for the Nintendo DS that we're like IGN, a video game site, is like supposed to cover somehow.
It's
Like,
crazy.
here's my preview of this quit smoking cartridge for the DS.
There was that walking game that Nintendo put out. Like,
Dude, my mom is obsessed with that walking game. She still plays it.
That's so cool.
She has her Wii hooked up and she still does her steps every day.
oh my god.
It is so crazy thinking about the launch of like DS was like sprung that weird dating sim
The
game
Rub Rabbits.
and Feel the Magic
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
all of those like
Ping
really
Pals?
Yeah,
Remember Ping Pals?
Yeah.
How many people paid $20 for Ping Pals?
Ping Pals let you
There's a
send
chat.
instant messages to people who also had Ping Pals,
Yeah.
aka
TikTok
nobody.
chat.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
such a weird launch. There was like a 2D or 2.5D Spider-Man game.
Yep.
There was
I had that game.
The Sims Herbs or whatever, where they all had
yeah.
afros. Like it was just like
This Herb Sims in the City.
yeah. And then Super Mario 64 and Yoshi's Touch and Go were I believe the only first party games on like it's so.
When was Meteos? Meteos was right near the beginning.
Medias is up there.
I thought
It
that was a
in the
little
first few
later
months.
though.
Might be
Was it right away?
I think it was like a couple. There was like that launch window where there
Yeah.
would be like I think Mario 64 was there too, where you couldn't get it day one, but you got it right after.
So it's weird because like you think about this era, I think about this era the way I think about cave paintings. Like it's like it was so long ago. It was so weird. The way we buy games are different. The way games are made is different. You don't see stuff like this anymore.
And then
Like, imagine-
IGN said, let's make a podcast about video game news.
Exactly how Tao's voice pronounced it. And welcome to IGN's podcast series. That's what we play at the beginning of our
Yeah, I
old
remember that.
podcast.
We should put it at the beginning of this one.
Yeah, I can probably hunt that down. Speaking of Nintendo, man, we've seen Nintendo over the past 10 years.
They have been on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right? So
they've been playing some carnival games.
at the end of the GameCube's life, they had taken some beatings, right? They were really struggling to compete against Sony in particular and Microsoft. Then the Wii was like lightning, and they
yeah.
But the year,
incredible success story.
the period from when they announced that console's name and concept to when it came out was like gotta be the darkest period in that company's life. People couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like people could not believe that they were calling a console the Wii. Like it was just the most unbelievable thing.
Yeah.
And then it came out. And
And especially
You couldn't even find it. You could for like a year.
It was
Yeah.
insane.
over a year. You couldn't find a Wii. on
There was
shelves.
like $900 eBay auctions like
took
with
my
like,
I took my Wii from a young boy.
wow.
I've told
I-
this
And
story
now you're a
before.
father. How does that feel?
Well,
Wow.
that's fine.
No, I
He has
remember
a
like
daughter.
driving
It's
around.
young boys he hates specifically.
I remember driving around that like holiday season, and there'd be like signs on the road like a Wii, $1,500. You know,
Yeah.
call this phone number.
So I went. It was funny because I visited my parents in a very tiny Connecticut town, and a Walmart had just opened. It's like the one thing in that town, and they had Wii's just sitting on the shelf. Like I was visiting them. It was like during Thanksgiving, and I went in, and they just had Wii's sitting there for retail price, and I lost my mind.
And they like dripped out. You would see these posts on like Reddit wasn't that big of a place anymore, but like people would be like, they got 8 at a Target in North Carolina, and like they were just dripping out across the country for like
Circuit
months.
Cities would hand out tickets, and people
Yeah.
would have to wait outside in the heat, and like, oh, we ended up only getting 6. Sorry, ticket holder number 7. It's crazy.
And then, of course, the Wii sort of like petered out after a while.
Yeah.
And then
After
the Wii
selling
U,
100 million Wii's.
Yes, and the Wii U has sold what 13 million
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
4 years.
For their best-selling console and their worst-selling console back to back.
Yeah,
It's so crazy.
it is crazy. Now we're on the kind of the eve of the NX. Still don't really know.
Which could totally go either way. I
Yeah.
mean, based on everything we know on it, I have no. It's safe to say I don't. It's safe to say it won't do Wii numbers. I'd be amazed if anything does that ever again. That was lightning in a bottle for the console industry.
It's a,
you know?
that also became out before again the iPhone and mobile gaming exploded.
Yep.
I mean, so
Yeah, it was
Sony.
That-
very well
yeah,
timed.
That casual market that wants to play games, those kind of games, they've all moved over to mobile.
They have 'em.
Well,
have
and I
them in their
also
pocket.
wonder, are they still using their Wii? Like my mom, I think, is still using like an iPhone 4. She's like, I have an iPhone. What do I need a new iPhone for? And
Yeah.
she still has her Wii hooked up. Like for people that are super casual into video games and just want to play a video game once in a while, why do they need the new console?
Yeah, my mom still watches Netflix on her Wii.
Exactly.
Stop it. Like you have like devices
You have a
that
smart
will run
TV.
it better.
You can
Yeah.
run Netflix on your TV. Yeah. Another big phenomenon that sticks out to me over the past 10 years is the whole Rock Band, Guitar Hero music game craze.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That also like skyrocketed and then crashed.
This will last forever.
So at first there was Guitar Hero, but it was just guitar.
And it was all covers.
Yeah, and then Rock Band came out and it was a full band, and then like that was the party game.
Yep.
For what, 3 years?
You couldn't spend time with friends for
Yeah.
like 2 years there without that being.
It's like that's
some-
what you do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you did.
You go to the bars, then you go back to the house and play Rock Band.
Yep.
And people would be like, "I'm having a party." Sometimes I went to a bar. I remember a couple times going to bars and they were in the bar.
Yeah.
And they were just. It was like you couldn't get a band. Like there's just guys
Yeah.
that you know are in the corner just
that-
jamming out.
That perfectly hit my college years. So
Yep.
it was like Guitar Hero 2 more so than 1, and then Rock Band 1 were like like seriously every time it was coming from the bar, play Guitar Hero drunk until everybody just goes to bed basically.
And then so after Rock Band, Guitar Hero followed suit with their full band games.
Yep.
And then they just went like back to back, and then there was like the Beatles Rock Band and Green Day Rock Band and Guitar Hero Metallica.
Yeah.
When did it peter out? I feel like Metallica is when it kind of started to finally.
Did I dream that there was a Van Halen one?
Yeah. Oh
No, there was
you
that too.
didn't
That
dream
was the one that we just had discs
10,000
around the office.
copies.
When Ryan McCaffrey started,
Are they still in a drawer somewhere?
Probably.
probably
yeah.
because someone as a joke sent him 1,000 copies of Guitar Hero Van Halen. They were like the promotional ones.
Yeah.
And we
You're
were
not.
just
You're not
handing them
being
out forever.
hyperbolic, by the way. It's literally
Yeah, literally
1,000.
1,000. Yeah.
I think it was probably, and I actually really, really like Green Day. They're one of my favorite bands, but they don't get their own dedicated Rock Band edition.
Yeah.
You don't go from the Beatles to Green Day.
Yeah.
That's when you know
Like
you're in
other
trouble.
guys were creating their like Konami had their own really crappy.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called, Music
Well-
Revolution or something.
Oh, there
Yeah.
were everywhere. There were all these like
I had
weird.
Taiko Drum Master.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's I mean.
was-
I think that's that was sort of like.
That's more like a Samba de Amigo.
Yeah. And that's so big in
Cute, gimmicky
arcades
game.
still, even in,
Yeah.
in Japan.
But that translated over to there were a lot of like now karaoke singing games. There was like SingStar. There was
Yep.
Just Dance kind of sprung out
DJ
from all
Hero.
of that. Like
Yeah.
DJ Hero, which was like
Yeah.
I was
Those
like
are good games.
Yeah, I was like super ready to be completely hooked by DJ Hero, and it grabbed me to an extent. But there's DJ Hero has like left such an imprint on me that I still can't listen to like Gwen Stefani's "Holla Back Girl,"
Yeah.
which without hearing all the songs they mashed in with it.
Yeah.
Like it was a weird time. And Goldfarb and I were walking around. I'll put it this way: for years, when you went to E3. Rock Band, Guitar Hero had gigantic booths,
Yeah.
just huge, like Nintendo size, Sony size booths. We went to E3 this year. Goldfarb and I were walking around one of those times where we weren't doing other stuff. We had just 20 minutes to kind of stroll. The Rock Band, was it Rock Band?
It was Rock Band. They're over by like the peripheral section.
The Rock Band booth was the size of these couches and this carpet. That was it. And it was just like there was one kid playing and there was one TV, and it was like, wow, what
They
happened?
tried bringing it
Yeah.
back last year, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
same
they
Guitar
really-
Hero Live and Rock Band 4 both just kind of. I mean, there was like a little bit of interest for a second, but I don't think.
Yeah, it's over.
I mean, they even made that DS Guitar Hero with that awful like
I own
strap
it.
around
With the-
thing. You played it sideways.
And it made no sense because then they started putting out different models of DSs, and
Yep.
it didn't.
I have that thing at Glom's on your old DS.
And it only has
I-
4 buttons.
Wow.
When Guitar Hero came out, I still lived in Iowa. I hadn't moved to San Francisco yet. And I played the game with my wife, girlfriend at the time a little bit, but it was mainly just something I did at home. I didn't play with a bunch of other people. And I got a little drunk, not a little drunk, I got pretty drunk one night and set a bunch of high scores in Guitar Hero that then I could never beat sober.
Really?
And so
Wow.
that was kind of the end of the game for me. I'm like, well, I can't, like, I don't know how I hit the peak. I found it.
Wow, you found that perfect. Well, there is that perfect, like, kind of.
Yeah.
There's this perfect note in your brain that you
Yeah.
knock when you've had just enough drinks,
Yeah.
where you're playing just like a genius, and then you have one more.
I'm just
drink,
not thinking
and then
about it.
you're
and
awful.
it's complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those games are funny because like it was such a good party game, and then I graduated college, and I had that summer in between college was done. I hadn't moved to New York yet, and Guitar Hero 3 was out, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna get all the achievements in this one. And like
Isn't
after
there-
a certain point, it's like beat everything on expert, and like I
Yeah.
was like, okay, never mind,
No
through the
way.
fire and flames, probably not gonna happen.
I think Guitar Hero 3, we ran a feature that was the worst or hardest achievements ever. And that is an achievement for beating, like, whatever their super marathon playlist is, and you're not allowed to pause, and you're not allowed to do, you have to do it straight through. You can't fake it. And it's like, and I think it's like 12 hours. Like, and you can't pause.
That's insane.
And like people said that like their controller battery died and disconnected 8 hours in and they lost their progress. Some guy said that he rigged up like a mirror in his bathroom so that he could play and like go to the bathroom. Or like he knew, I think he played bass and there's like a 60-second stretch 6 hours in one song where you don't have to play. And that was like
that's
his,
when he,
that was like his bathroom break.
That's pretty good.
That's amazing.
The worst.
Horrible.
I forget there was one terrible music game where like the drums were just sensors on the ground that would just like read where you're hitting. There's no, you're not actually physically hitting anything, and it never worked.
Yep.
And then there was of course Wii Music.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, man.
I remember that E3. That was weird.
The worst thing Miyamoto's ever done, probably.
I mean,
Oh, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
yeah, I would rather play the Virtual Boy than.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Virtual Boy has
Amazing.
like there's a Wario Land game on the Virtual Boy that's awesome. You know, Mario Clash is fun. Nestor's Funky Bowling is fun. Wii
Yeah.
Music is a wreck.
Yeah, there's that classic E3 moment with the drummer on stage. just
Ravi
like-
drums, yeah.
So weird. Yeah.
crazy.
I think that was
That's
kind of
weird.
when you started to see the wheels come off of that car, right? Like
Yeah.
that's when it was just like, oh, what's going on over there?
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, in 2006, I don't think YouTube existed yet. Is that a thing?
It may have existed.
Maybe in like
but-
some
did, I-
form, but
IGN was certainly not putting its videos on YouTube
We
yet.
saw them as a competitor, probably.
Yeah.
Like I remember Fran, even when I started, which was 5 years after that, Fran still talked about YouTube like a competitor.
Well.
And early YouTube didn't have comments, didn't have upvoting. It was just
It was
videos.
great.
And then that, of course, gave rise to game spectating.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a whole thing now. Like, people don't just play games, they will they'll just watch games for hours.
So I actually
Happy to do it.
So I interviewed Mark Summers from Double Dare at Comic-Con, and I realized during the interview that Nick Arcade on Nickelodeon was technically the first Twitch stream.
How
pretty
so?
good because they would
Like
you'd watch
it
people
was
play
people
video games.
watching other people play video games
Oh, okay.
through our TVs, and it was the first time I'd ever actually done that. Because usually you play games yourself, you watch your brother play, or you go to your friend's house, and that was the first time you could turn on a TV and just watch other people play like Sonic the Hedgehog levels, and
Wow.
you'd be like, "I'm better than him," and like yell at your TV.
That's how it started.
Yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah, and those VHS tapes Nintendo would send out of like Donkey Kong 64
Donkey
and
Kong.
stuff.
Oh man,
Donkey,
yeah.
yeah.
Where we saw Nintendo Treehouse for the first time.
Yeah.
Where they put up all that weird Nintendo Power fan art that they got.
So yeah, game spectating came up in the past decade. Esports really exploded. We mentioned the Nintendo Wii motion controls were a thing for a second that every console had to have.
Yep.
PlayStation Move and Xbox Connect.
It's crazy that they all did the same thing in radically different ways.
Yep.
Yeah, and that move is sort of
Back?
still gonna be back. Yeah, like
With
that's
the
the
PlayStation VR.
That is the weirdest part of VR for me. Like every time I see those demos, like it is still so weird to me that like the move is potentially relevant again.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre that's like that they've created the future and you can only play it with controllers from 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that like there will probably sell more moves in connection with VR than they ever did on PS2.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this is
Yeah.
if they repackage them, it's hand in hand with basically ostensibly a new console launch is
Yeah.
what they're treating it like. It's so weird.
It's crazy that we're only a few months away from that.
Yep.
Couple more trends. Annualized franchises. Wasn't really a thing, I don't think, 10 years ago.
I mean, sports were.
Okay, well, sports, but
Outside of sports, maybe?
I mean, yeah. Now, how many years in a row did we get? Have we gotten a Call of Duty now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
11
Assassin's
or
Creed.
12?
Yep.
Yep.
How How many Call of Duty games have there been?
There's a
So
1, 2,
30?
3, 4.
now,
But Thin Red
it wasn't
Line-
originally annualized though, right? For the
No,
first
it
three?
always was.
Big
It
Red,
always
not
was.
Thin Red
Yeah.
Line, Big Red
The Big
One.
Red
Big Red
One.
One. Yeah, Thin Red Line.
Clifford's the big red one. About his.
The harder thing
I
is
don't-
counting the spin-offs.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I'm
yes,
rapidly
consecutively,
losing interest in
It's at least
figuring
since
out.
2006 because that was Call of Duty 2.
Yeah, that's when there was. It started. We started reading backlash about that stuff too. Where if you said a franchise was annualized, it was a bad thing.
It killed Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Activision, they're kind of the masters of just like over and over and over and over again, and then it's not
Skylanders?
successful and they move on. And yeah, Skylanders is kind of the
Skylanders?
next victim of that, I guess.
Ubisoft does it too. Assassin's Creed and
Yeah.
Just Dance.
At least
Yeah.
they learned. They rested
Yeah.
the Assassin's Creed.
It's true.
Except we do have a movie coming this year. It's
Yeah.
not like there's
Yeah,
no
they kind of did the exact opposite of what they should have done.
All right, those are the big trends that stick out to me over the past 10 years. The biggest games of the last 10 years, biggest selling games. You guys know what the number one selling game of the last 10 years is?
Minecraft.
Minecraft.
Yeah. Followed by
GTA.
GTA.
Well, for
Wii
counting
Sports.
pack-ins,
Yeah.
Wii Sports is the number 2.
Oh, yeah.
But all of those games sold really well, and Wii Sports Resort, Wii Fit, Mario Kart.
Mario
Wii.
Kart
Yeah.
was
Mario
massive.
Kart
on the
Wii
Wii.
was massive.
We play because that was the only way to get the second controller for a little while.
Wii
I
Play
mean,
was
that's
also really
man,
big.
that's such a,
Although I
there's a
don't
little
really-
star next to that one.
Yeah, I don't really remember what Wii Play is.
Because no one
Many
played
games.
it. Like, I know so many people who have sealed copies of Wii Play because they bought it for the controller and then threw it in a drawer.
It's a bunch of mini games, 4 of which are like really cool, and then 16 of which are just kind of garbage. But
I
it
don't
would
remember
be
there were that many, man.
like that was a game that was in the mix when you would have like Wii parties. Like let's play Wii Sports for a while. Let's play the couple of good
Yeah.
Wii Play games. Let's play the WarioWare on the Wii, and then your evening was.
there was legit, like, Justin's totally right. There was legit a few, like, really good games in Wii Play. But like every mini game collection that plagued that era and every era,
Yeah, God.
it's mostly bad. But I thought it was weird how they basically figured out a way to sell a controller and have it crack the top 10 on MPD every single month.
Yeah.
Which is really nuts to me because essentially they were just selling an extra Wiimote,
Yeah.
right? And for a while that was the only way to even find a Wiimote.
I think it was literally the only way because
They didn't sell it on its own for
The
a while.
console itself, I think they sold it on its own, but it was like a unicorn. Like you could never find accessories or consoles in stores.
Yeah.
So all that Wii stuff sold well.
You have a second bottle of champagne, right?
I don't have a second bottle
Ah.
of champagne. This is it. But we can go to the bar after this.
All right.
Yep.
You're coming with us.
Both GTA 4 and
We carried the
5.
camera.
GTA 4 and 5 both came out in the past 10 years, obviously. Huge selling games. New Super Mario Brothers on Wii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The first one was I was
DS.
gonna say
First one was DS,
Yeah.
but that
Yeah.
came out in 05, maybe. Well, maybe not that soon.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
announced.
it might have even been yeah. It
It's
might have even been 04, I feel
New
like.
Super Mario Brothers and
Oh,
Wii
wait.
came out
around that. I mean,
yeah.
around then.
I think that game came out around the time I started at IGN.
Is the Wii one the bad one? Or just not bad, but just boring.
The worst one to me is the
DS
Mario
one's
Brothers,
boring.
New Super Mario Brothers 2, and then the DS one's the original one though. I
Yeah.
feel like the Wii one's the good one because it added all the multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, so multiplayer is frantic and awesome in that game. It's
Yeah.
it's really cool. Like I remember
Yeah.
I beat New Super Mario Brothers on Wii with the then GameSpy staff. It was like me, Will Tuttle, Anthony Gallegos, and Ryan Scott, and we beat Bowser with all 4 players intact. And
And that was when you got the
Yeah.
bubble when someone
Yeah.
and that was such a smart system that so many games have kind
But
of
it's also
taken
weird.
since then.
Like I remember playing that 4-player Mario. It was a case of you can't always trust people to want what they think they want.
Yeah.
People have
Yeah.
been saying for 20 years, like, why do we have to take turns? Just let us play it once. And it turns out you just get in each other's way and die all the time.
Well,
Yeah.
so that's
I mean,
actually
it's fun, but it's still like it's
there was
not
a,
how you think.
there was a
it's gonna
sweet spot, and it was 2 or 3 players.
Yeah.
When you played with 4, no one ever got along.
be. You just throw your friend in the pit.
Well, that was it. You could pick people up and just throw them in the garbage and then kill them. But yeah, I mean, that was speaking of analyzing games. Like we saw, there was New Super Mario Brothers, New Super Mario Brothers Wii. There was
New Super Mario Brothers 2,
2.
which was the third one.
that's the 3DS
then there was a
one.
Wii U launch one, and
Yep.
then the
Wii U.
Luigi
yep.
one.
DLC, yeah.
And so we got 5 of those games.
4.5, yeah.
4.5 within just a few years, and we were like, you got to stop making these.
Yeah.
And then they did, and I would kill for one of those games right now.
Yeah,
No, but I like that they moved on to other, like they took that kind of 3D sprites, 2D world, and they made a Yoshi game that I actually really liked. They made
Mario Maker, which is the big one.
Well, Mario Maker, that's true too.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, even stuff like Link Between Worlds is at least visually inspired by kind of that style.
I mean, I like thinking back to the mid 2000s is just weird. Like you forget, like it's crazy how fast you forget that like it was a big deal for Mario to go 2D again.
Yeah.
Like we weren't sure that would ever happen. Like Mario's just a 3D franchise now, and they made 4 games that said, nah, we'll do both, and then everyone
Because
can kind of relax.
If you made a 2D game during the N64 era, people were like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is garbage. Go back. Why? What are you going back in time, old man?"
Even with
To be
XBLA
fair,
stuff.
a lot of gamers still say that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I don't understand that at all. That's
Which
so
is
weird
why
to
we're
me.
getting Metroid Prime Federation Force instead of just getting that like Metroid Dread style game that everyone's wanted for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's been Marty's thing forever. It's like the idea of they get out on stage at E3 or in a direct, I guess, and they announce Mario Brothers 4 or Super Mario Brothers 4, and that it's a 2D side-scrolling Mario game.
That'd be great.
Yep.
One of the best-selling games of the last 10 years was released in 2012 for PC, Diablo 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then it came to consoles, and it's awesome.
It's awesome on consoles.
Yeah, it has the smartest, like the way they adapted the UI and the menus
Yeah,
for consoles
totally good.
is so smart. I totally didn't see how that would work in consoles, but it works really, really
I
well.
wonder if
does,
that
yeah,
game's
it's
done
cool.
or if it has one more expansion coming. BlizzCon's coming up.
Yeah, I think we'll find out then.
All of the Call of Duties, I believe Modern Warfare 3 is the best-selling one.
Was that the peak?
Is it 2 or is it 3?
Peak
Yeah.
Call of Duty. I thought 2
I
was
think
the
it's
peak Call of
2.
Duty, but
I
it's
mean,
around that era.
Yeah.
I pulled numbers for this, so
And 3 was ahead.
if I'm not
Interesting.
mistaken, I think it's 3.
That
three
franchise
was-
has been really weird to watch. By the way.
Yeah, because 3 was the creative point where I think it fell off. That was when Infinity Ward was just a mess in the wake of Call of Duty 2,
Well, it's-
and everyone's leaving to start Respawn.
Yeah, and it's also like watching all the sort of like studios split out and stuff like that. But it's been really, it's sort of like when you saw Batman vs Superman. Sorry to evoke those memories. And then you read like the charts the next week or two, where it was like, oh, this movie's
Yeah.
making $850 million.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, but it needs to make $1 billion to be successful.
And it fell off 70% in
Yeah,
the second. which
Call
is
of
just
Duty has
insane.
a sort of the same. I mean, Call of Duty has very long legs, but not as long as it used to, I believe.
Yeah,
it's just
well,
more first-person.
I mean,
And
shooters.
it's
it
the
has a
best
certain
soap
number-
opera ever, because if you watch Infinity Ward established the brand, they were the A team for sure.
Yeah.
When Treyarch started, they made World at War, which was by far at the time the worst one. But now Treyarch is the A team.
Yeah.
Now Black Ops is the best. Like the sub franchises are really interesting too, because Black Ops does so well. But Ghosts really didn't, and Advanced Warfare did well, but it totally didn't crack Black Ops numbers.
I mean, they'd be making more Advanced Warfares
Yes,
if that
if they
was
did.
like if
Yep.
that was a success. They wouldn't have had to keep doing different sub brands. I mean, Call of Duty has this floor of people that will buy it no matter what. It's like Trump could eat a baby and he'd still get 35% of people would vote
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
And so Call of Duty will forever sell, 5, 6, 7 million copies.
Yep, and that's why Black Ops 3 was still on 360 and PS3.
Yeah, that's
because
why
there
even-
are still those people.
Even all the downvotes on Infinite Warfare, it'll be fine. You know.
Yeah.
But again, like it won't. I don't know what their sales expectations are, but it's probably going to come a little under them. But it still will sell better than 99% of games that come out this
Yeah.
year.
That's
so.
the thing. Like a failure for like Ghosts didn't do anywhere near as well as like a Black Ops or a Black Ops 2, but compared to any other game, it did incredibly well.
Yeah. Finally, Bethesda has had a very good 10 years. Skyrim is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fallout was reborn just
Yeah.
in the past 10 years with Fallout 3.
It is
And was
insane what they have created with that franchise.
People were so skeptical about Fallout 3,
Yep.
coming off of
like-
1 and 2 being such different experiences. And,
Yeah. They were PC games and
Well, and Bethesda has always been a company that releases and publishes quality games, forever. But they were a company that was a little bit more like a Rockstar or, they would release a game every 5 years and you would love it and play it, and then you'd wait 5 years for the next one. But they've been really smart with their franchises and what they've picked to develop internally and what they've picked to publish. And now they can kind of alternate between Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and now they have Doom back in their stable,
Yeah.
and Dishonored.
Yeah, Dishonored 2 looks incredible. I think Doom, I kind of thought it would be bad,
Yeah.
and then it's so
And
It's really
smart
fun,
and
yeah.
good.
And Wolfenstein is back now and relevant again. Like,
mean,
they've
sure.
been really smart about just brick by brick, building up to. They've taken their time to really become a powerhouse.
Just the fact that they have their own press conference now.
Yeah.
Had when you were playing Fallout 3, if you were like, said this name right there, these guys are going to have like a 90 minutes every year at E3 where they get to just talk about.
well,
what
and
they're
everyone thought they did it last year just to show off Fallout to
Yeah.
the world, which I mean they did. But then they scheduled another one this year,
And this
killed
year's
it,
was great.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they've also moved away from stuff like Brink or stuff like that had their
Yep.
name on it that wasn't necessarily part of their like proper
Yep.
library.
Yeah, they've really come on strong in the last decade.
Yeah. All right, before we get to our Gamescom preview, video games often get a bad rep for having sequelitis, publishing sequel after sequel. Here are a bunch of beloved video game franchises that did not even exist 10 years ago.
Wow.
Gears of War,
Yeah.
Uncharted,
Yeah.
Minecraft, Assassin's Creed, Borderlands, BioShock, Professor Layton, the whole Souls series, Demon Souls and Dark Souls, Scribblenauts, The Witcher, Left 4 Dead, Mass Effect, Saints Row, Dead Rising, Watch Dogs, Just Cause, Dead Space. These are all from just the last 10 years.
And some of those went through, like Dead Space went through a whole peak and valley and is now
Yeah.
done. That's
I mean,
crazy.
yeah, I hope they'll bring that back.
Been a pretty good decade.
Yeah.
I met all you guys this decade.
Yeah, it's true.
Aw.
Not me. I've known him since your last life.
What?
We just nothing.
Wow.
What
Don't worry
was I?
What
Was I on the Titanic?
Yes.
Actually, I think 2 weeks from right now, we're probably going to be live streaming from Gamescom in Germany.
That's right.
You three chuckleheads, but not me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we leave.
Justin's not allowed back in Germany after the 1995 incident.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, we
Horrible
leave
thing you did.
a week from Saturday. We fly out, so, and then we start the following
I actually fly out
Wednesday.
before that.
Oh.
But yeah, I'll meet you there.
Okay.
See you there.
I hope so. You're just there in like a shirt that's clearly on fire, and you're like, if anyone asks, I'm not here.
Gamescom is the biggest trade show. It's not even a trade show. Biggest video game show in terms of attendance in the world.
Yeah.
By a large margin.
I think last year was like 350,000.
What?
That's
Yeah.
too
Which
many.
is crazy.
Crazy
because
amount of people.
That's like essentially 10 times bigger than like a PAX or an E3 or whatever.
But we're going to be getting updates on a lot of big upcoming games. Here's what we've confirmed so far as of today. We know we're going to be seeing 2 games that are actually going to be out soon, Final Fantasy 15 and Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
15 is an interesting case where everything I read about that game and like we did our making of series, it really makes it look promising that its E3 demo was so shaky.
Well-
and it's like, but which
Yeah.
one's real? Like,
Yeah.
is it did they just unfortunately have a sort of shaky demo and the game's really awesome, or was it demo showing us the real story? And I guess we'll find out soon.
I have a lot of faith in that game. I mean, especially
I want it to be
like,
really good.
We spent time in that studio and talking to those guys. Like, they seem to get it, and like obviously we won't know until we play the final game. But I think they understand what made Final Fantasy great in the first place, and they understand kind of where it has stumbled. They're super open about it not really being as relevant as it once was. Like, I have a lot of faith in that team.
Make Final Fantasy great again.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to be seeing Gwent again, the standalone Gwent game, which I think, who's the publisher? Warner Brothers is publishing that? Yeah.
Are they?
Well, they
so.
publish The Witcher, right?
Publish
yeah.
Witcher, yeah.
And I feel like they're starting to put a lot of marketing muscle behind this, but even though the people that have played it have positive things to say, I don't really sense a lot of excitement for the game.
Well,
I think
It's
it
just
feels
anecdotal,
like an also ran to. There's so many card games right
There's
now.
also the Elder Scrolls
Yeah,
one.
but-
and
yeah, exactly.
Hearthstone,
It
of
is,
course.
I mean, I would. We'll see when they come out. I consider kind of Elder Scrolls the also ran. Gwent is a very, very different. I sort of. It's a pet peeve of mine when it gets lumped in with those other card games. Andrew,
I'm sorry.
I mean, but I just because
I hate card games.
it's a game that deals with cards, but it's completely different mechanically, and it's not just a different coat of paint. Like. It's like calling, Call of Duty and Halo the same thing. Like like Gwent.
They're both shooters. I was just they're just
Yeah,
part of the same genre.
I'm just saying, like 90% of card games that are on the market said, "Hey, Hearthstone's a thing. Let's make our flavor of that." And Gwent's a completely different animal.
Yeah, and it's also like, so there's that weird thing like people played Fable and they had like the pub games in it that came out separately.
I loved Fable pub games.
Yeah, Fable pub games is amazing, but I also like there are plenty of people who love Fable and separate it from pub games. Whereas with Witcher 3, I do feel like people talked about Gwent more than they talked about like Caravan in Fallout
yeah.
or anything like that. Like I think there are more people who are
the hell is
hardcore about
Caravan?
Gwent. Caravan was the card game in Fallout. I think New Vegas.
Dude, I played that game like 50 hours. I don't remember that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in there. But yeah, I do think Gwent.
Yeah, it broke
is
through for sure.
Capable of standing on
Yeah.
its own, and so I'm actually super like that'll be fascinating because Witcher 3 did incredibly well, and obviously was super well received. We gave it Game of the Year. So like, what I want to see how Gwent will carry over.
It depends on its free-to-play hooks and how they
Yeah.
support it, and just what their vision is for that game.
We'll be seeing both Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1, 2 first-person shooters taking place
Yep.
in very different time periods.
Which I'm super excited for Battlefield 1. I haven't cared
Yeah.
about a Battlefield probably since 3, but this one looks cool.
And then Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
I think all 3, Battlefield and Titanfall come out both in October, and then
They're
Yeah.
a week apart
apart.
each, so I think it's Titanfall,
They're
Battlefield, Call of Duty,
Yes.
or maybe reverse Battlefield and Titanfall.
Well, actually, Call of Duty might be 2 weeks later. But the thing that's weird to me is that EA releases their 2 big marquee first-person shooters a week apart. I asked them about that at E3, and I need to go back and listen to the transcript. They gave me kind of a weird answer. They're just like, yeah, there's room for both.
Yeah, they're in a weird boat, especially with Mass Effect now in Q1. No Need for Speed this year. Like the EA as a company is actually really fascinating to me because they're kind of changing their strategy.
No Need for Speed sounds like something a cop would say.
No, there's no Need for Speed this year.
From
Makers of
Microsoft,
Where's the Fire?
from Microsoft, we'll be getting updates on Halo Wars 2, Gears of War 4,
Gears looks so good.
Recore, and Sea of Thieves.
Yep. And maybe Scalebound or Crackdown. Like that's such a question mark.
That's weird, yeah. We saw Scalebound again at E3. Yeah.
Yes,
that was
briefly.
You played Recore
Four-player.
at E3, right?
I didn't play it. No,
You didn't play it?
We had it
Yeah,
on our
we
live
saw it.
show.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a
I did.
demo.
Did you like it?
It seemed fun. It didn't seem exceptional in any
Yep,
way.
I agree.
Because I played Sea of Thieves with. Were you there?
Yeah, it was the four of
It
us,
was you, me, Marty Sleva, and Alana Pearson. We had we didn't do anything, but we had a really good time. Like
Yeah.
it just felt like being in like a Google Hangout or like a Skype chat with a bunch of friends on
It
a
was
boat.
it was super fun. It was probably the most fun I had playing anything at E3. I also don't know what the game is.
Yeah.
Like we played it for whatever that was, 20 minutes, and it really was. It was awesome. It was a really cool experience. But like, is that the game, or is that like a mode in the game? Like, I was just a little confused about like what the big picture is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got,
Either way,
they
they're
got a
doing
little
some
bit
cool
of the No
stuff.
Man's Sky syndrome.
Yes, 100%.
And Crackdown's a weird one because they showed that at Gamescom last year, and they showed off how the cloud computing is going
And it
to
was incredible.
make all this destruction on a huge scale possible.
Yeah.
And ever since then, they've just been. It wasn't
At
at E3. and-
so they weren't in the conference at all. The conference ended, and they immediately put out a press release that's like, "Hey, we're delayed, and we hope to show
Right.
you more soon." And then they're not publicly like we haven't heard anything about them being at Gamescom.
Well, there was that one quote from an executive in Microsoft being like, "Oh, we didn't need Crackdown this year because we have so many games." And it was like, "Oh, well, I mean, I'll be the judge of that." Thanks.
We'll also be seeing Ukulele.
So excited
Very
for that.
excited for
the
it.
toy box is so good. Oh my god, it's so
Yeah,
fun.
it's really fun.
It's
It's good
perfect.
here.
It feels like
It's good
Banjo
out.
in the best way.
Civilization 6 will be at the show.
Fun to play with 300,000 other people crushing around you.
Resident Evil 7, the VR Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, not exclusively VR, but you can be played in VR.
Yeah. And then Cliff Blazinski's new game Lawbreakers is going to be there, which I don't feel like we've seen in a while. at
It's
least, or-
being reworked from, I think,
Yeah.
wait, did it go from free to play to $60 or vice versa?
Ooh, I don't know.
They made a change
don't
there, and I don't know if it's in response to Overwatch or what it is, but that game looks cool. But Overwatch may have stolen some of its thunder.
I feel bad. They're completely separate games. I always confuse Lawbreakers and Paragon. Like I will always confuse those two, even though they are not alike whatsoever. I just think I lump them into that kind of like generalized MOBA transformation into shooter slash hero
They
shooter
are.
genre.
Paragon's way more of a MOBA.
Yeah. Oh, Paragon's straight up unapologetically a MOBA. I think.
I mean, I think it's perfectly okay that your brain does that, and that's a big struggle that a lot of these developers are going to have to fight.
And it's
It is.
unfair to say they're not alike whatsoever because each game is made up of 3 syllables.
that's true.
So
It's true.
Yep.
makes it.
I do. I rate games based on syllables. Number of syllables is my big criteria.
So
Zack and Wiki, the adventure of the cursed treasure.
Yep. That was good.
It's a lot of syllables.
That's a lot of syllables.
it's like Rise of the Tomb Raider
Yeah,
is good.
That's high. Yeah, the more
gonna be-
syllables, the better the game. It's proven.
We're going to be seeing that on PS4.
The
PS4
Legend of
version.
Zelda, the Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's good.
It's gonna be great.
Breath of the Wild.
yeah, those are also game titles.
Injustice 2 will be there. They just announced 2 new characters. at
3
Comic-Con.
syllables.
Yeah. Well, no.
Injustice. No, it's not. I got really excited with that. Never put me on a game show.
I hope they do more characters.
characters.
I really wasn't crazy about the first Injustice, but I'm a sucker for character reveals. I think like a cool trailer for whoever, like whichever DC character they do would be really cool.
Mafia 3 will be there, although that's coming out pretty soon.
Yep.
Yeah. We said Sea of Thieves. Battlefront VR
So excited for
is
that.
supposed to be there.
It's going to be a great
The
show.
VR version of Battlefront. And then
Yeah.
you mentioned Zelda. I don't know, like that's the only game Nintendo. It's the biggest game Nintendo has, and Nintendo usually goes to Gamescom, so they're not.
So-
Do they really?
Sony
Okay, that's good to
and
know.
like last year was all Microsoft. Sony and Nintendo didn't really have a presence. So
Weird.
It seems like this year is going to be kind of the same. Sony went for Paris Games Week instead last year as their big European
Yeah.
show.
So do you think this is a little bit of inside baseball, but when you go to E3 years and years, you'll see companies reuse elements of their booth.
Yeah.
Like you'll see
Yeah.
the same huge round Nintendo sign,
Yeah.
year after year after year, and they put it in storage and, cart it back out. But as everyone knows, at E3, they had this crazy, they recreated Hyrule with all this crazy stuff. Like,
Don't they want to use that again?
So
But, like,
Yeah, and it wasn't at Comic-Con, right?
So to speak on that, and Damon can speak on that too. We were at Comic Con, and Nintendo's Comic Con lineup was completely different than E3.
Yeah.
They were leaning into a lot of like the
Paper
kind of
Mario.
like Paper
yeah,
Mario,
and like Metroid
Metroid,
Prime. yeah.
the new Yokai Watch, the new Metroid Prime game, the NES Mini.
Weird.
But then they had a bunch of like kind of greatest hit stuff, which I think they were like, we got this old Donkey Kong barrel, and we got this big 3DS, and
Yeah.
here's like a big statue of a Goomba, and they just kind of trotted it all out there.
Here's a
You
bunch
could
of
go-
trash.
Yeah, you could basically go play Mario Kart 7 or 8 or whatever the hell.
I mean, that's possibly my favorite part of Gamescom is that because there's so much space and so many people, the booths, even when there's nothing new, like last year, Sony had literally nothing new at the show, but their booth was unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had all these like incredible like mascot characters, and they had like this big structure built, and so that feels like the place where Nintendo would recreate Zelda. But I don't know. I don't think we'll see anything new from it necessarily.
no.
Then that game's going to come out, and they're going to throw that beautiful, handcrafted, meticulously made stuff in the trash.
What if it was a conference room at IGN? Reggie.
Yeah.
I'll
Big
get 'em
fan
up.
of
like
Games
if
Cube.
I'll call them after
If you
this.
work at Nintendo, they have an auction for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Do you know about that?
I didn't know that.
No, they have like internal auctions at Nintendo of America where they're just like, here's a bunch of stuff we've had. Mike Drucker, who
who
used
wants
to,
this Mogoblin or whatever?
yeah, they'll just basically
$5. I hear $5. Do I hear $5.50?
Yeah, like it's where people bought like boxed Nintendo cereal that had never been opened and stuff like that. It's still in the bags.
I love the idea of walking into like Rich George's bedroom and it's
Yeah.
like a goblin.
But Zelda was
Cooking
at San Diego Comic Con in like a hotel room.
Yeah, not like on the show floor.
No
for
show
the public
floor.
to
They
play.
didn't move all that stuff into some guy's hotel. And I don't know if we talked about this story on this show before, but Marty Sleva previewed it at San Diego Comic Con, and he thought he was supposed to go on, I believe, Friday morning. And instead, he showed up on Thursday morning, and he knocked on some random hotel suite, and this old couple opened the door, and he was like, "Is
I'm
Zelda
here to play
here?"
Zelda.
And they were like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Oh my god, I got the day wrong." And then he left, and they left, and then the next day he came back to the same room, and Zelda.
So
was
right room, wrong day.
yeah.
That's pretty good.
That'd be a good name for a movie.
Yeah.
The
So
story
we
would have
still
been better
was.
if the old couple invited him in anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just let's see what happens.
And they played like Zelda on NES.
Or if the old couple had been like, "What an idiot," and closed the door, and they're like, "Now we've got Zelda all to ourselves."
So if Sony's not there, then I guess we're not going to be seeing Last Guardian, even though that's out in October as well.
Yeah, and PSVR.
No PSVR, which is also
they're
out in October.
what, a month and a half out from PSVR by that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Do you remember my housewarming party?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was my neighbors were having a quinceanera, and Marty wandered into that party instead of my housewarming.
That's right. I remember being
He said,
Classic
"Justin's
Marty.
got some weird friends."
That boy needs new glasses.
Yeah. All right, it is time for Video Game 20 questions, and one of the biggest requests I receive is for me to actually play the game. And I always tell people, Bob Barker does not play The Price is Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
But since this is a special occasion and it's episode 400, I will play Video Game 20 questions. I just ask you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the studio and let you guys decide amongst yourselves what game to give me, and I'll come back in and I'll play. Just keep in mind, I don't pick games that I know you'll never guess.
Yeah.
So try to
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
something that you think I could reasonably.
Well, I watched last week and the Karnov thing was incredible.
I don't know where that
so
came from.
funny.
Dude, I rewatched it and I freeze framed on your face. It's like that Simpsons joke where they can pinpoint the exact moment that Ralph Wiggum's heart broke. You can pinpoint, you're going, oh, then you go,
Yeah.
you get so excited for a second.
It's incredible. It's so good.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
we
just
can
try,
scheme.
try to keep it something reasonable.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to step outside and then I'm going to turn my mic off, and then do you guys just want to yell for me to come back in?
I'll come
Yeah,
grab
yeah,
you.
yeah.
I'll come
Yeah,
grab
come
you.
get me. All right, don't take too much time.
I'm gonna.
Also, if you see another bottle of champagne, maybe bring that.
I already have a good idea for
hold
one.
on. Wait for him to leave.
We're gonna wait for him to leave. I have a really good idea for one. Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Grabbed by the
Crap, it's
Ghoulies.
cool. It would be really good.
It's a rare game. It was an Xbox game. It was originally slated for, I believe, the GameCube.
I don't know if I know enough about it to answer granular questions.
I don't
though.
either.
I was thinking like maybe 16-bit era, like a
Yeah.
Super Punch Out, or like a Mega Man X, or
Yeah,
Super Punch-Out.
I feel
That's
like
a good one.
a tricky one is like a Mega Man sequel because like it could be so many different ones that almost feels unfair.
And I
Okay,
looked
yeah.
up. We did Punch Out once, but we've never done Super Punch Out.
Okay.
Do you think you can get Super Punch Out?
You know
want
what'd be a really
easy,
tough
but
or
not-
like Zombies Ate My
It's
Neighbors.
a really
or
tough
something.
one. ActRaiser. Because it's
Yeah.
two genres in one. It's a side-scrolling platformer.
Yeah.
16-bit. It's on the Super Nintendo. We have to look up
The year and the developer. That's
yeah.
the thing. I want to
Can
do
you look
stuff
up the
we-
year and developer?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I
You
got.
should pick Arkham Asylum because of the way that the controversy you guys had about whether or not that's based in America. That's
Ooh.
a throwback to an old question.
Oh,
we had
God.
in
But
this
we- I-
segment.
but-
But it's also one of his favorite games, right?
Yeah, that's a game we've done before.
I think it'd be funny to throw it back at him, though.
I want to. Yeah. I think I want to do Super Punch Out.
Okay,
You
we'll
guys
go with
okay with that?
I hope they don't edit this part out of the episode and it's just us looking at our phones.
Oh, I hope so too. Let's keep it. Damon, we're ready for you.
Yeah, I'll go get him.
Okay.
I'll go get him.
Do you know what year?
What if I just never come
Do I
back?
need to look up the year and the developer though?
Whoa, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
We're ready.
We're gonna pull up some data just to make sure we don't pull a Damon.
Oh, come on. That's not a real thing. All right.
He'll never guess Karnov.
We should do Karnov again.
Okay.
Okay, I have the Wikipedia page open.
Okay. Who's going to be keeping track of how many questions? Should I just count with my hands
yeah.
again?
No, I'll keep track.
Okay, Justin's got it.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to Video Game 20 Questions.
Thank you.
You all know how this works.
Yep.
Okay. Was this game released before January 1st, 2000?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this. I think you got to try and narrow it down to like a decade or a console generation, then to a console, then maybe to a developer.
Yeah.
And then,
I like
good?
that you've
You're
been. This is for 2 years.
yeah.
You're learning from all of our mistakes. I like that.
Was this game released before January 1st, 1990?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about a 90s game.
That's
So-
correct.
Only 90s kids will remember this.
So one thing, a line of questioning that's difficult is when you ask like, is this a Nintendo 64 game? And it's like there are actually very few games that only ever came to one platform.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like hard to actually narrow it down.
Yeah.
This is no.
We know.
This
I
is
love
delightful
this.
being
Yep.
on the other
Yeah.
side of the looking glass.
Yeah.
on this
No,
one.
I'm sure. Okay. How about this? Do you guys know if I like this game?
I don't know. I would guess.
Don't know.
I would say.
I would
yes.
guess yes.
Yes.
I
You
would be
would-
surprised if
Yeah.
you didn't. I'll put it that way.
I don't think. I don't. Yeah. Yes.
You feel pretty confident.
Hold
that
on,
I
hold
like
on.
this
We
game.
got to get together on something real quick. We have 3 judges right now. We're all throwing out different shades of gray, and we're
getting a lot
forming
of-
one color for him.
Okay.
Usually, Damon hosts a show, and
it's
then we
only
go.
him. Yep.
You ask a question, yes or no.
Okay, Justin is the elected
But
speaker.
we reserve the right to convene for a moment.
Yes, sure.
Before we break.
Rabble, rabble.
Okay.
Rabble. Rabble. Rabble.
But you feel pretty confident that I like this game.
Yeah.
I think you
So,
would, yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
Say I did it again.
All right, let's see. Is this a 16-bit game?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I just don't want to. I don't want to take unilateral action without you guys.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Was this game? Was it a super? Well. Hold on. Did this game appear on the Super Nintendo?
Yes. You're doing a very good job so far.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
doing really good.
We may have taken it a little. Well, I don't want
Too
to.
You
easy.
might guess it.
Is the developer of this game still making games?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said yes.
It is not Super Karnov.
It is a. At least it was on the Super Nintendo. If not,
that's not
Well,
real.
the group. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Don't do this.
Don't be weird. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that thing where you're weird.
This is why they don't invite me on the show very often.
Okay, so it's a Super Nintendo game made by a developer who's still in business. How to narrow it down from there? It's like, man, do I burn a bunch of questions asking about developers?
Yes.
Yeah, that counts.
That was a question.
Was it made by Nintendo?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay, a Nintendo game on the Super Nintendo. How many is that?
7.
7. Okay.
If you got less than 10. I'm
You've
very
gotten it in
embarrassed.
less questions than that before.
7's really fast.
Yeah. You're
You're in great shape.
you're hot for 7. You're doing good.
Okay, so let's see.
Here's where it all falls apart, though.
Yeah.
This is where your brain starts telling you that it's one thing
Yep.
and it's another thing.
Yep.
I wish we
Okay.
would have just not had a game in mind, and we're just shouting out yes or no, and just see.
That still could be true.
Is this game part of the Mario universe?
No.
Which would
No.
include like
No.
No.
it would include Yoshi's Island, Mario World.
No.
No.
No. That's a really good question, though.
Yeah,
That's a really good
You're
question.
good at this, it turns out.
Well, don't jinx me. Is it well?
That was
okay.
8.
So not.
I almost didn't add a question there. I have one job.
So what I think is you didn't. It
Don't.
wasn't like an immediate no.
It's a no.
But if it were like Zelda, you'd say no. But you guys had to be like, no.
Zelda appears in Mario RPG. So
But I
does
don't think.
Samus.
Well, wait. Yeah, but this game wouldn't be Mario RPG. And I wouldn't think.
Sure.
This game is definitively not in the Mario universe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a Mario game. The only reason there was hesitation is because we're trying not to shout
Just-
things out.
Yeah.
Let me think.
12 questions left.
Really?
No, at
Oh,
10
you'll
we
be
say
fine.
that's 10.
Okay, my mistake.
Okay. It is a Nintendo-made game on Super Nintendo that is not in the Mario universe. That leaves us with Zelda, Kirby, Metroid, even like Super Punch-Out. Okay.
For some reason, I'm super nervous. Like I'm not even playing the game.
I don't think it's Zelda because you guys had to say no. And like Zelda's so obviously not in the Mario universe.
I mean, there's a picture of Mario in the castle in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
That's true.
That's what I was saying.
But this is a Super Nintendo game.
But that
Zelda
connects
has
the
kissed
universes.
Luigi in my drawings.
So you're saying it is a Zelda
What?
game then? Okay.
You're getting a lot of free. You're getting a lot of free information here.
Yeah, you get a lot
You
of free
always need
info
to
on
shut
this
up.
one. This should be called 10 questions.
There's only one Zelda game on the Super Nintendo. Well,
Is that a question?
No. It's not a question. Okay. Is this game in the Zelda universe?
No.
Okay. Is this game in the Metroid universe?
No.
That's 10.
That's 10.
You want to talk about Kirby? We can
That's
talk about
10,
Kirby.
everybody.
Let's talk about that Kirby.
Oh, I love Kirby.
I love Kirby too. He's great.
So cute.
He's cute and he turns into the things he eats. It's adorable.
Yep.
Except for not in
Same.
the very first Kirby game.
Is this game in a Nintendo series that continues on past the Super Nintendo?
Yes.
Yes.
That's 11.
Okay.
Started out real strong.
Does the game involve? Are there animals in this game, or
We need to
humanoid animals?
we need to convene on this
Okay.
one. You gotta just turn off your ears for a moment. That's
No.
question 12.
Wow. There are
No.
not animals in this game.
No.
Okay. No.
We'll have a long talk about this later, but no right now.
Yeah. Someone's very mad on Twitter right now.
Whatever. That dude's always mad.
Not Star Fox. Not Donkey Kong Country.
You're
Are
doing
those questions?
No, I'm
doing
saying
it.
that I'm ruling these out.
You're doing a good job of
I'm
slicing it up.
verbalizing my thought process for the viewers and listeners.
That's 12, I think. Why am I holding up? It's 12.
Let's go 12.
You got some extra
and-
fingers?
It's
I'll be your extra fingers.
Let him.
Is there flying in this game?
No.
No.
Wow, okay. Now, hold on. Let me just ask you this. Would you consider a Metroid or another alien to be an animal?
Would I consider an alien to be an animal?
Right, when I asked if there are animals in this game and you said no,
Oh, God.
that's because you wouldn't have considered.
I mean, you fight like a.
We're getting deep. To me, an alien can be an animal if they don't have intelligence.
Yeah, like when you
Like
say
if they're
animal, you're
smart.
essentially saying, are there non-humans in it? So I would.
Ridley
I
is
would
a
include-
dragon, right?
Yeah, I
And
would include
dragons are
aliens in that.
lizards.
Yeah,
But I would
What
call
is
him an
Metroid, though?
animal. I
Yeah.
would call like the beasts that you shoot in that game an animal.
I would call
What is
some men
Metroid?
animals.
Metroid's an animal.
The Metroid is borderline.
Men is the most dangerous game.
Yeah.
Okay, so what? How do you rule on that?
What's the question?
I say
Is alien an animal?
Would
Are we
you
asking
guys,
that?
do you guys consider Metroid to have aliens or
And that's
have
not-
animals in it?
That's
Yes,
not one of the
yes,
20
Metroid
questions.
has-
I'm just
Yes,
asking.
yes.
Metroid
Yes,
has
yes.
animals in
Okay.
it.
But that should be one of the questions.
By your logic, then this game cannot be Metroid.
Yeah, but you already asked if it's in the Metroid franchise.
Oh,
we
I
said
did.
no.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Well, all right.
How many are we up to?
13.
13.
So, all right, let's
7
recap.
questions left.
Recapping.
Nintendo made
Yeah.
Super Nintendo game.
Yep.
Not in the Mario, Metroid, or Zelda universes. Does not have animals. Does not have flying, aliens, or animals.
And it did continue past the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. and it
Continue
didn't-
past the Super Nintendo.
Let me ask you this: this is not one of my? This is just to clarify. Would you consider Kirby to be an animal?
Are you
No.
asking a lot of questions?
We had this fight at PAX Town one
Yeah.
time.
No,
yeah.
Kirby's not an animal.
Okay. That's just clarifying.
What is Kirby?
He has intelligence.
We'll talk later. Pink.
So wow, we're actually getting near the end of the Nintendo-made Super Nintendo games I can think of.
There's a lot of weird ones. You got to think.
Yep. Gotta think.
It's more than you'd ever know, as they say, as no one's ever said. Just continue. We're doing great so far. Thanks.
Is this game a sequel?
Yes.
Okay.
So much for competing with the team, huh?
We'll put.
No, whatever.
Why are you?
Completely kidding. You're doing great.
Shh.
All right.
It's fine. 6 questions left.
6 questions left.
You want
I
to ask
should
us
have
about
asked-
animals?
I should have
I'll
asked.
answer about animals.
I should have asked a more specific
Is
question.
it giraffe, man?
It's a sequel
Yeah.
on the Super Nintendo.
Did you ask me if a giraffe is an animal?
Is it a? Is it a sports game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I don't know why we're hesitating on things that are obviously, like, we're hesitating at inappropriate times, and then we're being super sure at times that are also kind of inappropriate.
Is there boxing in the game?
Oh, there sure is.
Is it Super Punch Out?
Yes! Nice
17
work.
questions.
I
Okay,
should have had
hold
it
on.
there.
So let's talk about the 2 things that completely threw me off here.
Yep.
Number 1, you asked if it's the Mario universe. In the original Punch-Out,
Yeah,
Mario
exactly.
is the ref.
That's why I
Number 2,
hesitated.
you asked if
You're
there's
right.
animals. In the original Punch-Out, Great Tiger
Yeah.
has a
Yep.
tiger on his head.
Well, and
That's
also
technically a dead animal.
in the original one, Donkey Kong's in the audience.
Yes, exactly. Like that was why I was.
Okay.
And you straight up
You're
fight
right.
Donkey Kong in Punch-Out for Wii. You fight him, monkey.
Counterpoint, the goddamn game isn't Punch Out, it's Super Punch Out.
That's true.
No, but no, I agree with that. But is it in the Mario universe?
And also
If
the Great
original
Tiger has a
Punch-Out-
turban on his head.
If the original Punch Out has Mario in it, and this
And
is a
then the
sequel to
sequel
that,
has-
this technically is in the Mario universe.
It's not
Great
in the
Tiger
Mario
has a
universe.
dead tiger draped over the ring posts when he
true?
does his, his interviews.
And the way you asked your question was, I believe you said, is the Mario universe rather than is this a Mario game?
Yeah, I asked
Is
if
it-
it was the Mario
and
universe.
I don't think-
'Cause I was trying to rule out
Yeah.
like Mario sports game.
Yeah.
I think
I
Mario
don't know if
being
there
the
were any.
referee doesn't make it part of the Mario universe. It's not that these Nintendo characters get together and box each other.
No,
Yeah.
but
The
the
way that
Mario
they kart race together.
But that's got to work under the Mario universe because his universe doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like he's also in tennis and baseball and RPG.
Or like
those-
OG Donkey Kong.
Yeah, but those all have like Peach's Castle in the background and stuff. Like he's a cameo.
Maybe this is the boxing room of Peach's Castle. You
It's
don't
in the
know.
basement.
Yeah, in the basement. She's a cool boxing ring, and
Never
the
thought about that.
dead tigers are hanging out.
I stand by my decision. I think saying it's
Yep.
in the Mario universe would have led you astray.
Yeah,
that's probably
that was the
true.
thing. That felt
Yeah.
that would be super misleading to say yes.
Yeah, the role is 20 questions is not a me versus you scenario. I'm here trying to help you
Yeah.
guys get to the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
You did a very good
We're
job.
learning.
Thank you. That's very
It's a lot of
stressful.
pressure, though,
right?
That is
Yeah.
very last,
Right?
Very
Yeah.
stressful. I have a newfound respect for
What were
what I
those-
put you guys through every week.
What was the one we almost?
Maybe we are the Walking
Do you think
Dead.
you would have gotten ActRaiser?
I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to say. That
That's
was
right.
our-
And Grab by the Ghoulies, you were also going to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, those were my
Yeah.
first 2 picks.
Is Actors published by Nintendo?
we don't
No.
know.
Yeah, see that's why
That was why. Yeah, we had to do a lot of.
That would've
also-
that would have been hard for me.
ActRaiser is
champagne on
the
the
weird
table.
game where you were like, is this an RPG? And I've been like, yeah.
Yeah,
Is it a
it does.
platforming game?
Yeah.
Yes. Like it's both.
But then, if I could have gotten there probably.
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah.
A platforming RPG. Yeah.
With God Sim elements, yeah.
Keep it going. That was good. Thanks, guys.
Congrats.
That is episode 400 of GameScoop. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in every week after week, listening to the show, watching the show. Show would be nothing without all of you. So thanks for hanging out with us and for many more scoops to come. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Brian. My name is Damon. This is IGN GameScoop, and we're out.